got a very special guest on the podcast, Mr. Joe Hyde. Now, Joe has generated over £100 million in e-commerce revenue.
The ultimate goal is to get results as quickly as you possibly can.
I think his expertise in digital marketing and e-commerce is really going to be just what our community needs.
Just so you guys are aware as well, every time we look inside a Google account, the number one thing that we see that's just not being done properly is...
He's a great guy. He always adds so much value. He's got so many insightful inputs that he can add into any e-commerce business.
The one biggest thing that for high-ticket dropshipping that you want to do on Facebook is just straight off the bat.
Some of the small tweaks that Joe shared along the way, when you implement them, can lead to huge wins in your own business. Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me is our client success coach, James Eardley. Now, when we're not recording the podcast episodes, we're running our own e-commerce businesses and helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping businesses. Keen to build your own 6 or even 7-figure business? My book, The Home Turf Advantage, is your blueprint for launching a profitable online store. Grab your copy at htabook.com today and let's get you started. Now sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast. Today, we've got a very special guest on the podcast, Mr. Joe Hyde. Now, Joe is, first and foremost, a good friend of mine, but I know you're also going to get a lot of valuable golden nuggets from what he's got to share when it comes to e-commerce specifically today. Because Joe's not got your average background when it comes to e-commerce. He's actually an ex-pro skier turned entrepreneur and now runs the Affluent Agency, which is co-owned by another mutual friend of ours, Jordan, and has generated over £100 million in e-commerce revenue. So big numbers there. Now, I first found out about Joe's agency a couple of years ago now, and I should add, they're not just advertising. Of course, yes, they do run ads and they run social ads across all the different platforms you can think of. But it's more than that. They are video editors. They help with strategy. They help with email marketing and on-site copywriting, everything from user-generated content, graphic design, like the full works. So really, it's a full-service partner agency, anyone who's running an e-commerce brand like we are. So I've had the experience in the past of working with different partners, different contractors. So we've had video editors and someone running our ads and all these specialists in different areas. But once I started working with Joe's team, I realized how much sense it made to have everything under one roof, all managed by one team. So really can speak from personal experience that Joe's team are incredible. And I've been blown away by the level of expertise and the professionalism and most of all the sales revenue results that they've generated. So I see them now as like an extension of my own team. And so in today's episode, we're going to dive into some ninja strategies that Joe's team at Affluent Agency use when it comes to Google Ads, when it comes to meta advertising, so Instagram and Facebook ads. We'll also talk about conversion rate optimization, and we'll even get some email marketing nuggets when it comes to e-commerce. And if you stay tuned until the end, we've got a very special announcement and something that you could directly benefit from. You've got an e-commerce business. So stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss that one. Lots of really great stuff to dive into here. But before we do, Joe, welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro, Lewis. Really appreciate that. And great to be on the podcast. I've been watching this podcast ages. You guys are on episode 50 something now. So it's obviously a big success. So congratulations on that. But thank you for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you for being on. Yeah, we're at episode 53 now. It's funny. Remember the day we first started, never thought we'd made it to episode 53. So it's it's good, and we're really building up some momentum now, I think. So I guess, Joe, what would be helpful is maybe we could rewind a little bit because you've got a great backstory. Could we go back in time a bit and maybe you could share your journey into the world of digital marketing and e-commerce for us?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I actually met my business partner, Jordan, a mutual friend of ours, Lewis, about 6 years ago when he was teaching people how to start a marketing agency. And so I met him and we started just kind of hanging out, collaborating, just, we became really good friends, basically. So we kind of have a bit of a service swap where I would, help him record some of his YouTube videos. I had a bit of a background in filmmaking as well. And in turn, he would help me, launch my own marketing business. So we got to the point where I'd scaled that to 6 figures. We'd already got like a handful of exceptional clients that we were helping massively. And we decided, why don't we just join forces here and go all in together? Forge Affluent, which is now the brand that we represent, and a brand that's just growing year on year. And we've been doing some amazing things in the e-com space. We've really started to dial into e-com as a specialty. And now we offer, like you said, Facebook ads, Google ads, email marketing. But you're absolutely right. We do the whole whack. So we don't just do those platforms. We do all the strategy that surrounds them, the script writing, the video editing, the graphic design, everything that a brand needs in order to be successful and in order to grow and scale their revenue. We're trying to build our service that's representative of that. And, we're even getting into the region of like helping with financial forecasting now for the e-com brands that we work with, helping people build their brand to exit. And so, like you said, we've done about 100 million in revenue. Most of our clients are on Shopify, and as I'm sure your students are as well, Lewis. So that's kind of the platform we're most familiar with. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And I'm just really looking forward to working with some more really, really exciting brands. We're a very boutique agency. We're not trying to become a big corporate entity. We're just trying to give the best brands the best possible service, scale them, help position themselves well, and ultimately sell or whatever they want to do with their business. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But it's been a journey so far.
Love it. And I think the reason it works so well, and the reason that I've certainly been so impressed by the way your team operates, is because you take that boutique approach. It feels very personable. It feels very kind of baked into my own business, which is how I want it to feel when working with an agency. I don't want it to feel like this huge corporate entity that I have to approach every time with a proposal. Like, I can just quickly drop you guys a message on Slack, say like, can we do this on email? Can we do this on Facebook? This on Google? So it's been really, really good. And I guess Google is probably going to be the most relevant ad platform for our members at Dropship Unlocked when it comes to like high ticket dropshipping that we teach. So are there any advanced strategies that you could share with some of our listeners today that are focused around high ticket items when it comes to Google advertising in particular? Anything that kind of springs to mind that you're doing that's working really well at the moment, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So getting straight into it with the strategy stuff then, like you said, I would 100% position Google as kind of like the most important platform that you want to crack first of all. And then I would say, kind of like Facebook and email follows that. And the reason is because high ticket stuff that people, the products that people are selling that people are already in market for, it's really just about leveraging Google ads to get those products in front of the right eyes. That's really what this game is all about. So if you can prioritize that and advanced strategies on Google and then follow that up with, Facebook ads, email marketing, and a more well-rounded marketing system, that's typically what I'd recommend for people that are in your space. And it's certainly the kind of the approach that we take with your brand as well, Lewis. So I think jumping straight into it, my first most ultimately important point is just be really, really specific with targeting. Like, it's so crucial to target the right audience meticulously because of the cost of Google ads and advertising in general. You want to make sure that any ads that you are displaying to people are as relevant as they possibly can. And so being as meticulous as you possibly can with the target audience is just like absolutely key. And that just means defining what your audience is. Like, who is the person that is most likely to buy your high ticket product, and then, putting that knowledge into place when it comes to the actual advertising itself, and targeting them specifically as well. And this extends to remarketing too. So just making sure you re-engage in the users that have already shown interest in what you're selling, by tailoring your audience based on, past interactions with your website, all that kind of stuff as well. So just getting really, really meticulous with like your targeting, both at top of funnel and bottom of funnel, will just help massively, basically. Next thing is obviously just like smart bidding with target ROAS. We use smart bidding strategies all the time. So what we often do is just set up a target return on ad spend. So if a brand's never run Google ads before, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what's their ability to achieve results at X level of ROAS. And typically what we'll do is we'll say, try and figure out what your break-even ROAS is, then go a few marks above that to see if you can achieve the ROAS targets and the ROAS levels of that. But if not, if your campaigns aren't spending, then just ratchet your budget down just slightly, maybe like 10% every 3 to 4 days, And that'll really help you just find that sweet spot where you can actually start to get sales coming through and still be profitable. And you really want to just be on that cusp of like being able to sell your product at the highest amount of volume and in the most quantities, but making sure that you're still profitable. And so ratcheting the ROAS target down on one of those smart bidding strategies is just a really, really good technique, finding where that kind of that line is really. So yeah, it's just a nice, easy one.
Fantastic, Joe. So it's all about finding the perfect profitability level. I want to dive in a bit deeper where you mentioned about really manually targeting the audience that you want to put your ads in front of. So obviously we know that Google's AI machine learning is advancing all the time, but do you think that we can still manually show our ads to people better than Google can predict themselves?
I think it's a balance in your account, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think that you should give up on manual targeting yet. That's my honest opinion. I think PMax is very much Google's flagship product, and it's going to become more and more kind of dialed in, and they're going to be able to get better and better results each time. But I don't think that we're at the stage yet where it's like scrap all the manual targeting, especially if you're just starting out and you're just like launching your account. I think it's really important for you to personally get an understanding of who your target audience is by doing that manual work and running that alongside the PMax stuff. And that is going to give you much more of a higher indication of what works.
I totally agree on that point, and I could probably chip in there because I remember the days where, well, it probably still is the case when you start a new Google Ads account and they try and force you into, I think they call it express mode, where it's like one smart campaign and they're just like, just click this button, enter your card details and we'll start spending for you. And it's the danger, I think, with that, like you said, around if you just say, hey, PMax is all I'm going to know. I don't want to know how it works. I just want to know there's a black box there and I press a button and it brings me sales. The danger is, what if it doesn't work? How do you troubleshoot if you don't understand it? And I think that's another part where manual comes into play, right? And I know I've seen that the way your team do it is certainly still have Google Shopping campaigns running, because PMax tends to absorb a lot of the retargeting sales or the sales that come from retargeting and claim that they're, the doing of a PMax campaign, when the reality is, would they have existed had you not had another campaign running? It's very good at like absorbing that attribution from what I've seen. So maybe you could dive into a bit more around how Performance Max actually differs from what we think of when we talk about traditional Google Ads, Joe.
Yeah, so how does Performance Max differ? So, it's basically automated placements and dynamic ads, and Performance Max ultimately differs from traditional Google Ads by essentially automatically placing your ads across, Google's various platforms, including, YouTube, Gmail, Google Display Network, and not just on the search results. And then essentially Google will take the assets that you provide and dynamically create and test different combinations, ultimately trying to optimize for the best performance, the best combination of dynamic elements without any manual intervention on your part. And so in theory, it's a very it's a really kind of good new system. And if AI can get it right and get that combination absolutely perfect every single time, then it would be the ultimate thing. And I think that's definitely the way that Google's trying to head. It's the exact same on Facebook as well, with something called Advantage Shopping Plus campaigns. It's just like another way that these big platforms are leveraging AI to basically use dynamic elements to create combinations to try and basically help you guys out. But exactly like you said, Lewis, what happens is those campaigns often soak up a lot of the retargeting as well. So sometimes the numbers can be a little bit skewed, and it's difficult to tell what is actually really generating. And so doing that bit of manual on the side, I always find is super duper helpful. And then, obviously with PMax, you're essentially relying on Google's algorithms to decide the optimal bidding strategy. And we can actually find that this will take somewhat, or I'd say a minimum of 14 days really for PMax to actually start to kick in. I know Google says that it's like 7 days, but in our experience, it's actually much, much longer, at least twice as long, sometimes even longer than 14 days as well. So just being a little bit patient with it is definitely something that I recommend, and not trying to switch it off or make too many big brash changes, very, very quickly. And that's easier said than done if you're not getting results. And that's why I think manual is always a good thing to fall back on, especially if you can get results through that. And then you can really commit to spending a certain level of budget on your PMax campaign and hoping that's going to start mopping stuff up eventually. But yeah, you just got to leave those campaigns a little bit longer than you really anticipate, and that will really help.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that is really common. We see from the members that we work with at Dropship Unlocked, Joe, is where like someone sets their PMAX campaign live and the next day they're logging into Google Ads and being like, okay, I had 100 clicks, where are the sales? And I think the thing that we have to remember with high ticket, the volume, of course, of sales is going to be lower than if you're selling, £10 widgets or whatever. They're going to be flying out the door. When you're selling products that are like 2 or 3 grand, you might only sell like 2 or 3 in your first week of running ads or your first couple of weeks until you've really got those campaigns dialed in. But once you do sell one, all of the profit from that sale pays for all of the ads for that whole 2 weeks, right? And so it's just that patience and removing yourself from the decision making by just not watching. I find it's easier to just not see than it is to see and not act, because then you're testing your willpower. Just don't look.
It's so true. Like when you're selling, products that are much lower ticket, it's quicker to learn. Like you can learn a lot quicker because you're getting that instant feedback. And if the sales aren't coming through at that level of RAS, you can switch it off. But typically speaking, we actually find it slightly easier to get results on higher ticket products. It's just having the courage to be able to advertise for a decent period of time for PMAX to start working. And then exactly like you said, when that sale does come in, it's like all of a sudden the ROAS jumps up like exponentially. And then, if you can get some consistency there, then, you're going to be off to the races with it. So yeah, that's 100% the case too. I think also, just so you guys are aware as well, every time we look inside a Google account, like the number one thing that we see that's just not being done properly is tracking. Like for some reason, every single Google account that we look into, the tracking has not been set up correctly. Like there's double tracking, there's like multiple codes on each of the pages, and there's like so many different checkboxes that we have to go back and revert it to the proper standard, which I will actually, for the premium members, for the training after this, Lewis, I've got a bit of a tracking checklist that everyone can go through and just make sure that their account's set up absolutely bulletproof, basically. So that'd be really, really cool to share over there. But yeah, that's definitely like a big faux pas that a lot of people make and helps the PMAX massively if you can get it dialed in correctly.
Amazing. Thank you, Joe. That's, it's going to be absolute gold. And just to dial in a little bit more on Google Ads, because it is the primary method for generating sales with high ticket dropshipping. I know we're going to touch on some other points afterwards as well. But so you mentioned that setting up a performance max campaign works well, but often concurrently alongside a manual campaign as well. Specifically, what campaign type would you like to set up? And for some context, say this is a new account. We've signed up with our first 4 or 5 suppliers. How would you go about setting up your first sort of manual Google Ads campaign as well?
100%. That's a really good question, but I'd love to actually dart that question right back at you guys, if you don't mind. Like, what would you guys recommend in terms of like the first one? Because I know what I'd pick, but I'd be really interested in what you teach as well.
Yeah, we used to go with the approach of a manual shopping campaign, and we used to have like a 3-tiered structure because you used to be able to pull out the exact search terms that are coming through those campaigns, find out the ones that converted, add them in as negatives so that they filtered through to your bottom of funnel campaign, then take those keywords and say, right, those are working well. Let's now put search text ad campaigns out based around those high converting proven keywords. So it was almost like a wide net funnel approach where you kind of filter the keywords down. That's changed in recent times though, in certainly the last year, as PMAX has become like, yes, you may sack a little bit of that early ROAS because you're kind of letting the algorithm do a bit of exploring that you might block out ordinarily with negative keywords. It's getting 80% of the results, for 20% of the input. And it's definitely a simpler route to get people up and running with sales. So now the way we view it is PMAX to start with, use that as your kind of wide net. Then from that, maybe branch out, potentially creating shopping campaigns using the manual old fashioned Google shopping, or straight to search text ads once you've got those high converting search terms. And with all of this, obviously there's an underlay of like retargeting on everything. So retargeting across meta ads whilst you're doing that, retargeting across display network. And obviously it's retargeting being baked into PMAX as well. But that's the approach we take now. Do you have any different advice from that?
No, I think that's pretty much nailed on. I think you explained it exactly the way that I do it, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's definitely, you're definitely teaching the right thing there. And we see that to get because the ultimate goal is to get results like as quickly as you possibly can. And so like structuring the account in the way that it'll do that is it's going to be the best way to do it. So no, I love that. It's cool. Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe, for that. So we'll move on now to Facebook ads. So using Meta now to run ads on the social media accounts, so Facebook and Instagram. What do you think are the key components then for a successful Facebook ad campaign, and specifically considering high ticket dropshipping?
Yeah, 100%. Well, so Facebook's changed quite a lot over the past couple of years. I mean, same as Google, to be fair. Everything's like changing so rapidly as like AI becomes more and more increasingly important. And we're finding that pretty much the majority of the leverage that used to be in Facebook ads, which was the targeting, the granular level of like interest-based targeting, lookalike audiences, all that kind of stuff, and these really big complex account structures, we found that that's pretty much all gone out the window. And now all of the leverage has basically moved to like the creative aspect of your advertising. So it's like how your creative comes across, whether it's a video, an image, like how you're displaying and communicating your value proposition through those creatives. And so really like tailoring and optimizing and focusing on the creative is the most important thing, is typically where you'll see the majority of the leverage. And so that's like a common mistake that I see people still making, is trying to get too granular with the Facebook targeting, but really consolidated account structures that are really tailored towards how Facebook's AI works, and then just piling really good high quality creatives into the account on a consistent basis is ultimately how you'll scale. I mean, you know, the one biggest thing that for high ticket drop shipping that you want to do on Facebook is just straight off the bat, you just want to set up a dynamic product retargeting ad. So if you've got multiple products on your store, you just want to set up a dynamic product retargeting ad. I know you guys already teach this, but it is by far the highest ROI action that you'll have in your Facebook account. And just build that as like the number one thing, and you'll be good to go from there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. And at what point, or would you say there's ever a point where you'd stray away from that and start running some cold campaigns for high ticket products on Meta?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, ultimately everything comes down to, you know, what the KPIs are that you've set, right? So if you've set a KPI of like 10x ROAS and you're achieving like a 15, 16x ROAS on retargeting, then, you know, you're well above your target KPI. And so you might be like, okay, I might start having a think about, you know, trying something that's top of funnel at this point. And, you know, my best advice there is pretty much, again, consolidated ad account, one campaign, really, really broad targeting. In some cases, just absolutely no interest or lookalike audience targeting at all, just completely broad to the entire country, which sounds crazy, I know. And then just, you know, filling that campaign up with as many high quality ad creators as you can. It sounds mental, but Facebook will actually read your ad creative and look at it and scan it and actually be able to read all the text in it and scan all the metadata. And from that creative, it will then take it and then advertise it and target it to the most appropriate person, depending on what that creative says, which is just absolutely wild now. So it'll literally watch videos, it'll listen to them, like this AI machine, it'll listen to them and then go, right, who's the person that I think might be, you know, best suited to watching this video? And then it'll target it based on that, which is absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much how it's going these days. So yeah, top of funnel, you know, broad campaign, fill it up with some really, really high quality creatives. Get a good offer in there as well. Like, you know, ultimately your offer is, you know, a layer above all of your marketing. Like it's the thing that sits above all of your marketing. Your marketing really is like communicating your offer to the target audience. Or what does the actual offer? Is it resonating with the marketplace as well as it should do? Is it really clearly identifying the problems that that market is having and solving them? And if it is, then your ads are going to be more successful and you're going to have more leverage. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So talking about creating an offer, because that's a really interesting concept to bring up. So when it comes to selling physical products, we're a little bit, I think, more constrained in terms of like the offer that we provide to our customers. Say we're selling barbecues. How can we go above and beyond and show that we have a better offer than other competitors that are selling the exact same barbecue? Have you got some insights around how you would elevate that offer to your customers across using Facebook ads?
Yeah, absolutely. So even though it is a physical product, you can still rewrap it and wrap it up in different ways and present it as like, you know, an interesting and new and fun and exciting thing. Bundling is an absolute key element of this, like the all-in-one barbecue set or the man's barbecue or the lady's barbecue bonanza, something like that, that has all of the key ingredients, not just the barbecue in there, that has all the key ingredients for you to have a fantastic day out in the garden or to host your family or something like that or something else. So it's really about the emotional positioning of what that barbecue is basically going to do for somebody. And if you can position an offer or a package or a bundle that is really tailored to that, then you're going to have more leverage, basically. So it's a really, really good example of an ad that we saw recently. And I don't know if you've seen this, but there's the cold pods that are kind of like knocking around at the moment. You know, these like these plunge pools that people are putting up in their garden. Well, this is a really, really hot product at the moment. And there's people that are like whipping up businesses left, right, and center trying to sell these things. And there was one company that were like, right, okay, I'm going to take this trending product and I'm actually going to give it away for free. But in order for somebody to get it for free, so already this is like a killer offer because they're getting the trending product, the thing that everybody wants, completely for free. But in order to get it for free, you basically have to buy another product, which is like 4 times the price, which is like it was like a walk-in sauna type situation, which again works hand in hand with this cold plunge. But it's just a way of repositioning everything. So it's like, okay, if you buy the sauna, which is this product with much higher perceived value, and you buy that, then you also get this for free, basically. So that's actually doing the purpose of doing 2 things. So it's actually being able to basically increase average order value by selling a sauna, which is like 4 times the price. But it's also advertising the cold plunge because people are still going to click on that ad with the intention to look at the price of the cold plunge and buy that anyway. But the offer is situated and positioned differently, where it's standing out from the rest of the people that are advertising it. So I thought that was a really, really clever way of basically being able to like start advertising, and really work on your offer when you feel like you're in a saturated market.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Thanks for sharing the example, Joe. And when you were setting up this campaign, so as you call it, so top of funnel, a cold campaign, so we're showing these ads to people that maybe have never heard of us before, would you be using the Advantage Shopping Plus that you mentioned before? Is that the campaign type that you'd be using to run one of those ads?
I'd say specifically when you are, first setting up, I would say do it manually again, to be honest. Your Advantage Shopping Plus campaign, similar to PMax, is something that you very much rely on the AI to be able to do it. And if the goal here is specifically when you're first launching is to learn as fast as possible what offers and what products resonate with the marketplace, then I'd always specifically just focus on manual. And when I say manual, I still mean CBO, by the way. So that's campaign budget optimization. That's basically optimizing at the top level of your Facebook ad campaign as opposed to the ad set budget optimization. So Facebook had the ability to really take the different creatives that you got and distribute the budget in accordance to what it thinks is going to achieve the best result. But I'd still set it up with that. And only when you've got some good results coming through, then you should duplicate that into an Advantage Shopping Plus campaign and really rely on the AI to be able to scale it to the next level.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. And can you share some common mistakes that perhaps you see from people when they're setting up their Facebook campaigns? Do you see the same issue with tracking like you do in Google Ads, or perhaps there's some other mistakes that you see more commonly within Meta?
I think tracking's not a massive one, to be honest with you. Tracking is a huge one for Google, but not so much on Facebook, because as long as, let's say, for example, you're on Shopify and you've got the Facebook Instagram application stored on your Shopify, then it's a pretty simple integration to get that Facebook pixel all connected up properly. And you don't really have to do that much. It's relatively hands-off. But I think the biggest thing that I see people doing these days and still doing is just having this massive over complexity of ad account, like having like 10, 20, 30 different campaigns in there, all of them trying to do loads of different things. And, the way that Facebook learns is by looking at a singular campaign and with the budget that's been assigned to it, optimizing that over time. And so if you've got 20, 30 different campaigns in there, then Facebook's trying to optimize for 20, 30 different types of ad. And it's just going to be so much more difficult for it to learn. And ultimately, you really want to build an account that's consolidated and tailored to Facebook's AI. And so consolidated ad account, keep it real simple. That helps massively. Also, when people are first starting out, I find that they switch ads off like way too early. Like Facebook is going to do a really good job of distributing the budget on the creatives depending on what it thinks is going to do best. And so my advice there is just trust it for a little bit longer. Just keep trusting it a little bit more, and it will distribute it in a much better way than you can. So
yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing those tips, Joe. And I think one of the things that stands out, or a couple of points actually that you mentioned around Facebook ads. So the the bundle idea, like you said, the women's barbecue bonanza, which, by the way, I think would be absolutely killer in terms of a marketing campaign. So you should definitely launch that if you're selling barbecues. What that specific thing does, jokes aside, is it like creates, it's an outcome-based offer. You know, they're not looking for the specific, well, they are looking for this, they think they're looking for the specific product, the widget, the tool, but what they're really looking for is a really happy, enjoyable time with their friends where they are the person that provides great food and everyone looks to it. It's like a status thing almost. It's like you're selling the experiential package, aren't you? So it's just exactly like you said, like, as much as you can bundle in that to increase the value of the product, you're decommoditizing yourself from everyone else who's just trying to sell on price and just trying to discount this one product widget to as low as they possibly can and squeeze the margin. And you're doing the opposite, saying, you know, we'll give you the product for free if you buy this other thing, which, by the way, creates your entire sauna and cold plunge like health experience. You know, so yeah, I love that. I think it's really good. And your advice on targeting as well. I imagine there's some old school Facebook marketers out there who do like to have 30 campaigns in their account, with their palms sweating right now when you told them to have one campaign and target the UK with no specific interest targeting. I think there's some marketers panicking out there at the moment, but that's the way it's going, isn't it, with AI? So traffic is obviously just one part of the equation. We can have the best traffic source in the world and we can be driving the best ads. It's amazing. But if we drive them to an absolutely terrible landing page, or the conversion rate off the site we're driving them to is just awful, then you still will struggle to make it work profitably. So this whole thing is a system, as you know. So diving into conversion rate optimization, I know that we mentioned earlier that you guys are not just an advertising agency. A big part of what you do as well is CRO, conversion rate optimization. So what are your top tips for someone who's running a high-ticket e-commerce business like we are, like dropshipping businesses? Why is CRO so crucial? And have you got any pointers for people in our situation?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and you're right. It's the bit that's often forgotten about as well for some reason. It's like, oh, I just focus on the ads, and you know that's where all of my leverage is. But it's like, well, if the place that you're driving them to isn't converting them, then it doesn't matter how many people you're driving. You're not going to make sales, right? And so it's just like it's just a key element. Now, that being said, I do think it's more important, especially when you're testing new products, new offers, to stick with, you know, testing those things in Facebook first, or, you know, in Google first, and allowing those tests to really inform what you need to be focusing on in your funnel. So not trying to launch, you know, 10, 20 different landing pages at a time, really testing, okay, what are people resonating with on the front end, and then using that information to inform how you build your landing pages and how you build your websites and how you position the offer when people click through. That's the better way to do it, because you're going to learn a lot quicker like that. And so, yes, that's the first little piece that I'll just get out of the way. But I think my biggest, you know, number one thing with, you know, landing pages and CRO is just making sure that it's congruent, just making sure that there's plenty of congruency from the ad all the way through to the landing page. So you're using the same colors, it's the same brand. Like, one of the biggest reasons that people bounce off a landing page is because they've clicked on one thing with one emotion, and then that emotion hasn't been translated and followed through to the landing page. And, you know, if there's a disconnect there, then that's going to be the fastest way that people turn off. But if you're invoking an emotion in an ad, and you can invoke that emotion even more on a landing page, then your conversion rate is going to skyrocket, and it's going to hockey stick from that. So making sure it's congruent with the colors, with the wording, with the offers, the images, the style, all that kind of stuff is just so key. And also Facebook and Google, they look at that stuff. They look at your landing page and how it connects up from your ad, and they will reward you based on that. And so if there's any kind of misalignment there, then that means that they'll do is they'll punish you, and they'll punish you with higher CPMs, higher cost per clicks, and they'll make that traffic even more expensive, basically. So number one thing is congruency. Number two, specifically for high ticket dropshipping or high ticket products in general, is just making sure that there's some good customer support options, like customer support for people that are spending over 1,000, over 2,000, over 3,000. Customer support, like the ability for someone to talk with you or somebody on your team about their products that they're inquiring about buying, is like so key. And, you know, there's going to be plenty of objections that people have when you're selling a product with such a high price tag, specifically things around guarantees, quality, delivery times, Is my money protected if I buy this? All these different aspects. Sometimes people just need to have a conversation with someone, and that can be over instant messaging, it can be email, it can be over the phone, whatever it is. But sometimes people just need to have a conversation to make sure that, that they're feeling confident enough to basically pull the trigger on that, basically. So having a good selection of different customer support options is really, really important. Next one is just a detailed FAQ section. And that's basically just taking what I've just taught you, which is essentially the objection handling aspect of why somebody wants to talk to you before they spend multiple thousands of pounds on a product, and just listing it in a very, very easy to read section at the bottom of your landing page, which is like the most common question. So it's an FAQ, it's frequently asked questions. So really that's an opportunity for you to identify objections that people may have when they come through to your landing page, the reasons why they wouldn't buy, and turn them into reasons. So it's like, oh, I don't want to buy this because it's really expensive. And that's your opportunity to say, because it's really expensive, because it's extremely good quality and it'll last you 10 years, right? So that's your opportunity to take an objection, flip it on its head, and give people more confidence and give people more trust. And ultimately, your landing page is about giving people trust and about giving people confidence. And if you can get that across properly, your conversion rate, again, is going to go up and up and up. So your FAQ section is a really, really powerful tool. Basically, being able to communicate with your customers and really help them tackle their objections as well. And also, next thing is, as well, specifically for high ticket, all this training is tailored for super high ticket products, is just having like an explanation video. So we did this on, a couple of brands that were selling products over 2K. And we just thought, okay, what are people going to want to do when they come onto this landing page? And they're going to want to know what the checkout process is, especially if it's a complicated product and it's going to take a while to ship. They're going to want to know and be able to visually see what their expectation is as they go through it and as they buy from your store, basically. And so what we did is we just got the founder to record a quick video that says, when you get on here, all you need to do is click this. You need to put in these specifications. You need to select which shipping is best for you and then give them some advice on that. And typically speaking, that really, really helps conversion as well. And so, yeah, if you're selling multiple products, obviously you don't need to do this for every single product, but if you're selling multiple products, there's usually like 20% of the products that you are selling that's responsible for 80% of the revenue. So just do some really nice kind of like brief explanation stories on those product pages, and that will really help kind of like boost confidence as well. So yeah, cheeky little tip there, but yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so much in there for people to focus on to make sure they're sending their traffic to somewhere that can convert. So our landing pages, when we're setting up Google Ads, obviously we give Google quite a lot of say in this with the Performance Max campaign as to where they send our traffic. But generally, we see that they'll land on a product page. So would you say, again, with the 80-20 principle that you mentioned, we should focus the majority of our attention on optimizing our product pages before looking elsewhere on the website?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Wherever you're driving traffic to, you want to make sure that you're trying to optimize that as best as you can. Like, the purpose of a homepage on a website is just to get to increase trust about the brand. It's not to increase trust about the product, it's to increase trust about the brand. And so typically speaking, as long as that's got all of the relevant things on there, so all of your Trustpilot reviews, some nice testimonials, some written testimonials from people, some good high quality images, some good videos, all that kind of stuff, you're pretty much you're ticking all the boxes. And for your premium members as well, Lewis, by the way, I've put together a 250 point CRO checklist. So I'll give that to you guys, on the next bit of training. But there's going to be like every single thing that you need to do to make sure that your CRO and your landing pages is absolutely bulletproof. But yeah, you're absolutely right, James. You want to just try and focus on optimizing those product pages as much as you can, especially if that's where you're directing traffic to. So yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Thank you, Joe. So much golden nuggets in here. It's good to go about your CRO or the website enhancement with that in mind. So when they're not on the product page, think about how you can enhance trust for your brand, for your business. When they're on the product page, how can you enhance their trust for the products that they're about to purchase? I think that's going to serve you well. Thanks for that checklist that we'll soon be sharing. Okay, so how important now is email marketing, transitioning away from conversion rate optimization? So how important would you say, firstly, it is for an e-commerce business? And then what strategies do you find most effective?
100%. Great question. And, this is almost like the final element from a digital marketing perspective, to get e-com right. It's really just a mixture of, the holy trinity, Google, Facebook, and email. And if you can focus on nailing those 3 things, yeah, TikTok's up and coming. But I'm really good friends with the data scientist at a company called Triple Whale. And they're like a piece of tracking software that work closely with Shopify. And he tells me all the time that all of the marketing spend is still going through Facebook and still going through Google. So don't try and get too much shiny object syndrome when these new platforms come up and come in. And, if you want to be the first to, really like nail those things, just make sure you listen to podcasts like this because, as things emerge, we'll definitely be sharing that. And it's not like TikTok isn't up and coming, but yeah, it's definitely not in the top 3. I would say at this point. So yeah, bear that in mind. So yeah, email marketing. Look, email marketing is specifically with high ticket products is some of the highest leverage work that you can do. Right, emails is basically a free way. Once you collected someone's email and you've obviously paid for it, email marketing is basically a free way of putting your offer in front of someone's face over and over and over and over again without having to pay for it, basically, right? So email marketing is exceptionally powerful, and specifically with high ticket and, dropshipping as well. We want to make sure that we're just like optimizing our emails as much as we possibly can. And so, there's really kind of 2 main buckets when it comes to email marketing. Your flows, which are things like your welcome series, your abandoned carts, your checkout things. And then you've got your campaigns as well. And typically what I'd recommend is with your flows, basically building anywhere from 5 to 7 flows. And with your welcome flow, build anywhere from like 8 to 10 emails. So really, really ramp up the quantity of emails. People think that like quantity is a bad thing. Quantity is actually like your best friend in all the world. And like, as long as you've got good segmentation in there, you're not going to be hurting your domain whatsoever. You just need to make sure that you keep hitting people in a variety of different ways. Like we said, rewrapping the offer, repositioning it, making it seem fun, making it educational based content. And the more stuff that you can put out, the more that you're going to reap from your email list as well. And we like to say that emails should be responsible for about 30 to 35% of your overall revenue in your business. So if you can imagine, if you get to the point where you're doing 100K a month, then you should be doing at least 30 to 35,000 of that through email marketing, which by all intents and purposes, when you've got your email list built, is a free platform, right? So it's just all you got to do is pay for the software on a monthly basis. And so there really is a lot of profitability in email. And I know some brands that are happy to even break even on Google and Facebook, as long as their email is churning and making sure that they're pulling in the sales. That's where all of their profit lies. So don't sleep on email. It's like exceptionally important that you guys put a lot of effort into that and build out a good amount of flows, send at least 3 campaigns a week and go from there. So biggest tip with that to collect emails is just make sure that you have a really optimized pop-up. The best pop-up that we see, and this hasn't really changed for a couple of years now, is basically just a mystery discount. So it's really easy to set up. If you've got a piece of software like Klaviyo or SendLane or whatever, email marketing software that you guys are using, just make sure you get a pop-up set up on your store like as soon as you possibly can so you can start collecting emails. And when I say a mystery discount is the best option, it basically just reads, enter your email to get a mystery discount. And that's like enough. That's enough illusion for people to be like, okay, I'll just see what kind of discount is possible to be got on this site. And, when it's really high ticket and you're giving people 5-10% off, that is significant savings as well. So people are getting really, really rewarded for becoming a part of your email list. And so really incentivizing people to do that is not only going to be in your favor, but in their favor as well. So it kind of works all the way around, which is awesome. Next kind of like more advanced tip I'd give for emails is like one of the best segmentations that we use. So if you're not 100% sure what a segmentation is yet, it's basically being able to look at an email list and divide it up based on the different actions that people in that segmentation have performed. So you might get people that have interacted with your brand once. You might get people that have opened 5 emails. You might get people that have opened 50 emails. You might get people that have bought previously but haven't bought X products. And so these are all called segmentations. And it's a way of you being able to divide up the people inside of your newsletter and on your email list and fire certain emails to them based on, like how they've identified themselves, basically. And one of the biggest and like highest leverage email segmentations that we find is like a VIP system. So basically what a VIP system is there somebody that's bought from you previously? If there is, put them in something called a VIP flow, which basically means that they get treated as they are a VIP to the brand. And like I said, the 80-20 rule, again, doesn't only work with like specific products, but it also works with your audience. Like 20% of the people in your newsletter are responsible for 80% of the revenue. So if you can separate that 20% off the top, start treating them as VIPs and really engaging them and getting them to come back and maybe win points or maybe get upsells or maybe get certain discounts or early access to new product launches, all that kind of stuff, your conversion rate on that segment is just going to go up dramatically. So yeah, that's like the biggest number one segmentation tip that I'd give to anyone out there. Set up your VIP flow as soon as you possibly can, and you'll start reaping the benefits.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe. So you mentioned sort of setting up 5 to 7 flows initially. So obviously the welcome series went into 8 to 10 emails for that one. I imagine abandoned cart will make up another flow. What other examples of flows would you recommend that people set up immediately?
Yeah. So welcome series, abandoned cart, post-purchase checkout, post-purchase cross-sell. Post-purchase to cross-sell is an absolutely great one. So that's basically somebody's bought a product and, you sell multiple products that kind of like, it's almost like the cold plunge and the sauna situation. Oh, you bought a cold plunge. How about the sauna? Because it ties into what the person is trying to achieve, which is become, healthy, like have a good home, almost like spa experience, right? And so that's a relatable product to the first product that you tried to sell. So post-purchase cross-sell is like identifying a product that somebody's bought already and then repositioning another product that might support that as well. And so if you guys have got merchants or vendors out there that have multiple products that all complement each other, or maybe you could even use different vendors and different merchants to basically pull in and cross-sell different products for a specific archetype, a specific person that's trying to achieve X result, then your average order value, your lifetime value of your customer is just going to go up dramatically, basically. So yeah, there's loads of little tips and tricks and things you can do like that.
Great. Thank you for sharing those tips, Joe. And I can say from firsthand experience, like when I saw what your team were capable of with Klaviyo and like the kind of advanced strategies that they were doing there and the results that they're getting with Klaviyo as an email marketing tool for us, certainly around that repeat buyers flow that I never really considered would be like a huge source of revenue is fantastic. And it's been a super valuable part of working with you. And also you mentioned briefly there, Triple Whale, the tool, which I think isn't talked about too much in high ticket dropshipping, but that's really good tool in terms of tracking for cross-platform tracking, like seeing where your sales should be attributed to. So whether it's to email marketing, whether it's to Facebook ads, Google ads, beyond the time frame which those platforms often will let you look back on with their own policies. So that's been super valuable. So I'll leave links to both Klaviyo and Triple Whale in the show notes of this episode so that anyone interested in getting a free trial or a trial of one of those can have a look at. So Joe, just to wrap up today's podcast then, before we dive into our private, more exclusive and in-depth training for our premium members, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's starting out when it comes to digital marketing for their e-commerce business right now, what would that be?
Great question. It's the ultimate question, isn't it? But it's a fantastic question because like I sometimes dream about, okay, what if I lost everything? Like, how would I start all over again? And I have like one very, very clear answer to this now. And I think about it all the time. And it's got me thinking in like really creative ways about different products that we can launch in different markets. But the number one thing that I'd always look out for is like, where is there an emerging market? Like, where is there a market that is on the rise, that is on the build? Because if you can catch a trend or if you can catch a wave inside an emerging market, the amount of leverage and the chance of you succeeding is far, far greater than if you're in an already saturated market or in a diminishing market, right? So if you can find a product that is either just about to hit trend, or if you can find a marketplace that doesn't even have a product that solves their problems yet, then the chance of you being able to scale with that are like dramatically higher. And so yeah, off the back of that, number one thing is just try and identify what those pain points are in that emerging market. Digital marketing is just simply the communication of an offer to a market, and then the winner will be whoever can identify the market's pain point the best and create an irresistible offer towards it, basically. And so there's some really interesting things happening, and there's like a lot of, a really good way of doing market research, unfortunately, is just like browsing and scrolling on TikTok and seeing what people are talking about. But there's something that I'm quite close to at the moment, which is there's kind of like this knowledge about ADHD and like how it's becoming more of a focus point. And, there's some people that are creating like organic natural supplements for people in that marketplace at the moment that I just know are going to absolutely explode. And there's all sorts of things like that. So try and do some really good market research in an emerging market, and when you build your store, it's going to be so much easier. You're going to have so much more leverage there. So yeah, I'd go for that.
Yeah, TikTok's definitely the place to get that, isn't it? Our emerging trends, see what's hot at the moment. So great advice there, Joe. And look, thank you so much for joining us today, Joe. It's been a real pleasure having you on the podcast. And before jumping on the podcast, we actually asked Joe what bonuses Affluent Agency could offer to listeners of the Dropship Unlocked podcast to ensure that they could take action and implement some of the stuff that they'd learned in the podcast today. And what Joe's very kindly arranged is pretty special, especially if you already have an e-commerce business up and running. I think you might find extreme value in this. It's a full brand audit where they'll assess everything that you have in place already across your email marketing, across your different marketing channels, your paid, your organic, and really help you create a plan to take it to the next level. So I can say personally, this is the kind of thing you would usually pay an agency a lot of money for, to really dive in and give you a full audit of everything. So if you head over to dropshipunlocked.com/affluent, so AFFLUENT, if you use that link that's linked in the show notes below this episode as well, and book a call with the Affluent team, that specific link take you to a full in-depth brand audit across all of your platforms, all of your social media accounts, so you can really identify the gaps in your current marketing strategy and ultimately get a plan of action on how to take it to the next level. So whether you're just starting out running Google ads at the moment, or if you've just launched your Facebook ads and you want a team of experts to dive into it and look at it, see the way you have it set up and see if there are any of those mistakes Joe talked about earlier, and really give you their take on it, plus the full plan of how to actually scale it to the next level, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/affluent. So Joe, thank you so much for providing so much value today. We loved having you on the podcast, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Guys, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I'll have loads more stuff to share for you guys. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on. And awesome.
What an incredible conversation with Joe that was. He's a great guy. He always adds so much value. He's got so many insightful inputs that he can add into any e-commerce business. So I think his expertise in digital marketing and e-commerce is really going to be just what our community needs to refine their strategies and boost their overall sales as well. So well worthy of being our very first ever expert guest, I think, on the Dropship Unlocked podcast.
Absolutely. Fantastic first guest to have. Thank you, Joe, for sharing all of those insights. Really enjoyed the conversation. Such a great guy and just led with value, which is absolutely what we love to see. I know that his depth of knowledge on Google ads, Facebook ads, really going to make a huge difference for listeners and members of our community that are running and growing their own dropshipping businesses as we speak. So if you like this style of interview podcast that we recorded today, then let us know by leaving a comment or like the video. So hit that like button, and that way we'll know to bring more experts onto the podcast.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about hearing these tips from our expert speakers like Joe. It's about actually putting them into action. So try and take what Joe shared today and see how you can apply it to your own dropshipping business, because some of the small tweaks that Joe shared along the way, when you implement them, can lead to huge wins in your own business. So don't forget to visit dropshipunlocked.com/affluent if you're interested in working directly with Joe and having his expert team take your e-commerce store's sales to the next level.
Enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review, and we might just feature it on an upcoming episode. Also, for detailed show notes and resources, head to dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value from any episode of this podcast, please take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. It helps us more than you could imagine, and who knows, you might just hear your comments on the show. Thanks for being part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering a new episode every week.
Now let's answer a question that we've had in from a listener. So remember, if you want your questions answered, all you need to do is leave us a comment underneath the YouTube video version of this episode, and we'll answer them in an upcoming episode. So the question that we have in today, Lewis, is in from Sam Blay 1183, and he's asked, I need a mentor for dropshipping. Where do I start?
Yeah, it's a bit of a minefield out there, but finding the right mentor can definitely be a critical step in your dropshipping journey. So I commend you for seeking guidance and trying to seek one out. I mean, our program, Dropship Unlocked, provides comprehensive guidance and support to serve as your mentors. I'd probably recommend the first starting point, if you're just starting out with this, start with my book, The Home Turf Advantage, which is available at htabook.com. That book is packed with insights and strategies, step-by-step plan that can really act as your guide. I guess it's kind of like having a mentor in print form with that book. But also, as well as the book, you actually get bonus access to some really exciting content and a community called our Dropship Unlocked Launchpad community, all for the price of the book, which is incredible. And it gives you access to mentors, it gives you access to people in the same position as you. And who knows, down the line, if you'd like to work with us directly and have us mentor you inside our main program, then we might even be seeing you inside the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass in the near future. But either way, you'll get a huge amount of value out of all of the steps that I've laid out in my book, The Home Turf Advantage.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lewis. Yeah, you get so much out of a mentor that's ahead of you, but you'll also get a lot out of people that are in the same shoes as you with the same goals. And that's what you get by surrounding yourself in a community like the Dropship Unlocked Launchpad. Okay, so now we're also going to highlight a review that we've had in recently from a listener. So I'm going to read this one out. So a big thank you to Halima2255 for sharing your thoughts in a YouTube comment. And she said, "Love these episodes. They're very inspiring."
Thank you so much for your review, Halima. We're really glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast and feeling inspired by it as well. That's the aim of the game. Now, do you want a chance to join our elite masterclass community for free? Yep, that's right, for free. So if you would, then simply leave us a review on the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and you can check out episode 52 of the podcast for full details to enter that competition.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you're walking away with insights and inspiration.
To kickstart your e-commerce journey, grab a copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, at htabook.com. It's a distilled guide based on real experience to help you build your e-commerce venture.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more strategies and success stories. And if you like what you heard, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might just get a shout out on an upcoming episode.
And finally, thank you for deciding to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.